to the first format that we were looking at doing in the beginning, where we were able to have a back and forth kind of conversation versus me just preaching at you, which some people say they enjoy, but I think we're better to talk about it. So that being said, we're going to go through Joshua chapter 6 through 12. And this is, there's Jesus everywhere. It's a really big deal, and it's a wonderful book. And I think we're going to have a good time tonight. But before we get started, let's open with the men praying. So Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, ladies, for lighting the candles. It's very important. Women bring life. So women bring light in the darkness. From you comes the future. And so we're deeply thankful for the women in our lives and for the day. You can go ahead and pray.
We love you, Father. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings us to this Sabbath so that we may discuss your word. May your Spirit descend upon us as we stand in front of the walls of Jericho and get into Joshua. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So don't be afraid by Sabbath. It's a statement. It's a day that God made. The seventh day is a special day. It's a day that God rested, and so the only thing we're doing, we're not teaching people to be law people to the point that people think it's what that means. Instead, what we're doing is we're saying if God said it was good and it was holy, well, we want to too. We want to just enjoy that. We want to learn about God on that night. Now, ultimately, this night is supposed to be in your house with your friends and your family, and you teach your friends, your neighbors, your children, inside of your house, wherever you are. This is a night of Bible study, so you could be in Genesis or you could be in Revelation or anywhere in between, and you would do it over a meal, and you would thank God for that week. So, we're trying to start that. We believe that Jesus' way, that the man Jesus is so much more important than any tradition, than any other way, that Jesus, the Jewish sage and the God-man, the one who rose from the dead, that his life is the very image of what we should be and what we should do and what we should love. And so, it's not weird if it's not weird. So for me, it's not strange. I actually keep kosher. I keep Sabbaths. This will be my first year really, really intending on actually keeping to the fullest degree that I'm capable all of the biblical holidays. I've done this for, 15 or 20 years at this point to a greater or lesser degree. But this year I'm really, really going to try and just see how it feels, see what it yields. I'm a big fan of testing God and the things that he said test us in, right? So if we keep his ways, if we walk in his ways, he said he'll bless us. Does that mean just Israel? I think we're going to see some of that is not true tonight in Joshua chapter 6, 7, and so on. So we can get started tonight. Chip, thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Remember to hold your mic real close. Just talk a little low. And
okay.
Then, thank you very much. And so, we're just going to start at chapter 6. Okay, so previous to this, we got kind of Moses's passing, and then, they crossed the Jordan, passing through the waters, identifying with the miracles of God. God now had become their protector, just as he did for Israel when they left Egypt and they crushed the Egyptian enemies in the waters, right? So, it's this continuing motif, like baptism actually comes from this. It's really nothing else. Baptism is associated with crossing through the Red Sea and coming out the other side. It's not so much that you go under the water, it's that you come out alive, right? So what you're remembering, what you're cherishing, is that God is going to crush your enemies. Now, that seems harsh, but when you know what the fall means, when you know what Genesis taught us, when you know that human beings have failed the mission, but God is still good. He's still calling a people. He's still reaching into the world even though we don't meet the standard. Why? Because God is the one who's been reaching into the world because he loves you for no other reason. Because he's good. Because when we light these candles, we remember creation. And what was it when he made human beings? It was very good. So you are very good. But if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, right? There are many who say, Lord, Lord. But I'll say, I never knew you. There's two facts in this, okay? Jesus is both the lamb and the lion. And it is important for us to serve him today, now. Because he is coming. The world is weird. I can't say
weird.
that any more plainly, that the world is very strange. And what's happening out there should raise your spidey senses a bit and make you say, whoa, I think I should focus on Jesus.
The darkness is falling, for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody notices it, even the people that don't believe.
Even the people who don't believe. There's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of brokenness. Now, let's get into the messiness of Joshua. So, now Jericho was tightly shut because of the sons of Israel. So the discerning mind, Chip.
Yes.
What's happening?
Well, so basically, this ought to start in Joshua 5:13, actually. And the way they broke this up is just the way it is. But so we've crossed the Jordan, and we've already met the God-man or the angel of the Lord.
That's right.
It's an unexplained phenomenon, but it's holy ground. And, Joshua was told to take his sandals off, for example. So this is not just an angel that he's dealt with.
He met the same one that Moses met in the burning bush.
Yep, and the motif is all through the Bible too. The more I recognize it, the more blown away I am by it. But so we have crossed the Jordan, and we have about 30,000 fighting men plus the entire people with us.
All the men, women, and children, animals, tents.
Everything is across the river. Now we're standing at the very fane of the Promised Land, and Jericho lies before us, and they are shut up tight. And if you remember from the last book, we have Rahab, the innkeeper / harlot, who has made a covenant agreement with a couple of the Hebrews.
2 spies.
Yep. And so anyway, so there's a red thread hanging out of her window, which is part of the wall.
Why the red thread?
Well, I don't really know because I'm new at this, but it strikes me that it's very similar to the blood on the doorpost at Passover.
Okay.
And it also, wasn't there a red thread in the temple during the Second Temple period, or am I off by that?
Yes, there was. So during Yom Kippur, there were 2 goats, the Azazel and the sacrificial goat.
Okay.
The Azazel would have the red thread tied around it.
That's the one they sent out into the
and
wilderness.
be sent out to be destroyed. So what was she? She was one who was oppressed under sin.
Right.
Right? Now, she was attempting to be redeemed. What happened to the other red thread on the temple?
I believe it went away.
It turned white.
Yeah, after the crucifixion.
Right? So when God in Yom Kippur, okay, the feast of, the feast of redemption or whatever it is. I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but
atonement.
Atonement. Jeez, the Feast of Atonement. When God during the Feast of Atonement brought in the goat to shed its blood, the innocent goat, right? There was one that was innocent that was taken out into the wilderness and given to Azazel, El-Asaz, the god of chaos, the god of death. And then there was another one that was brought into the temple, and his blood was poured out on the altar. Now, once that blood was poured out, that scarlet thread that was on the temple would miraculously turn white, but not after Jesus was crucified, ever again. The other one, the other goat, also had a red thread tied around it, but it was cast off a cliff forever to be gone. So the red it's an interesting motif. So it's red, like the Moabites, right? There's this whole theme running through here, and it means a lot, right? It's both sin and redemption, because what does blood do?
It's life.
Yes.
It's life and atones.
So that's what the red means, right? So she put the scarlet thread out. Now, this is awesome to me because, again, if you go back to Genesis and you memorize 1 through 12, 1 through 15, and I know I say this, right? But it really is important because why was Jericho shut up tightly? What's the result of the fall?
Well, I mean, it's people are in disobedience and rebellion is one motif
fear,
there, yeah.
Right? It's fear.
Yep.
Now, is Israel a danger to the righteous?
No.
Not so. Why was it shut up tightly?
Well, probably fear of the Lord. I mean, he's
That's
just
right, because
performed a
God
miracle
said,
on the
I
dirt.
would go before you and
Yeah.
deliver them,
Yep.
okay? So this is not about Israel's army. This is about God preparing the way before them, the way, right? Jesus talked about this. Jesus talked about all of this. So they are in fear because they're living in the curse. And how do we know that it directly points to the curse? Because of Rahab, right?
Yep.
And what about Rahab? Well, she was given into prosta, right? She was oppressed by men. And what does the curse say to the woman? You will seek to subdue your man, but he will subdue you. Why? Because we're strong. We're mean. We're stronger. And in this world at this time, a woman is a right to be used. It's an opportunity to procreate. Now, they got one thing right. It's time to procreate. That we need to procreate. But they got the other thing wrong. And that's that we're not equals, right? And that's because of the fall. And Rahab was tired of it. She was ready for a change. She was a Canaanite who was not afraid.
That's right.
She went to the tree of life, to God, even in the midst of the curse. She was not afraid.
And she went first.
That's right.
In this case, she reached out.
And that is the garden motif. It's all through this. So when people say that this is like totally brutal, they're totally wrong. Because God is continually calling a people to himself. He didn't have to redeem any of us. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. But instead, he prepared the way. And he called Rahab.
Yep.
And she was not afraid. She met him in the cool of the day. The garden motif. It's wonderful. Now, how do I know this? The Lord said to Joshua, right? This is all about God. See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and its valiant warriors. You will march around the city, all of the men circling the city once, and you will do it for 6 days. We all know the story, right? Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, But do we really know what it means? Because there's a really interesting thing here. What happens in 6 days? Work, right? Men can work in 6 days.
Yep.
So they're going to go march around it, 7 priests with 7 ram's horns. They're going to walk around it one time, and they're going to blow the ram's horn.
And they're literally carrying God with them, too, because they
The
have
Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark.
They had the army before, the Ark in the middle with the priest, and then the army behind. And they would stay off the wall so they wouldn't get shot by arrows, right? And then they would blow the shofars, boop, boop, all the way around it.
They didn't say another word. They were also commanded
They were
to be
commanded
quiet.
never to speak.
Yep.
Why? Because in the beginning God spoke, right? This is not for the people. This is when God speaks. This is creation. The point of this is for us to recall creation. And we'll get to Jesus in a minute, but he teaches all of this. So they go around, okay? They march. They blow the horns one time. They do it for 6 days. Now listen. It shall be that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, and this is on the 7th day, okay? All the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat. Who comes with the sound of a trumpet in the great shout?
The Messiah, the Davidic,
The Messiah.
the Lion of
when
Judah.
He comes back,
Yep.
It's the sound of the trumpet in a great shout. This is what that is talking about.
Yeah,
This is it.
Yeah, it's definitely Revelation is.
So what is it though? If this is it, what does Jesus come back to do? To deliver
To deliver
the land to
yeah,
Israel, right?
Yeah.
The restoration of the flesh of Jacob. That's what he comes back for. But it doesn't mean it's not you. It does not mean it's not you. And I can prove it. And we're going to prove it in a minute. So they'll come with a sound and a great shout. Now, Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, take up the Ark of the Covenant and let 7 priests carry 7 trumpets. So we get all around this. It tells you how the procession went. They took the ark of the Lord, literally the presence of God, on the earth. Who else was the presence of God on the earth?
Jesus.
Yes. And who as a man appeared to Joshua?
Yeah, well, I'm saying Jesus.
I'm going to say Jesus. He was already here. He was already here calling a people. This is not foreign to us. This is us. These are our people. This is our history. Because Jesus is our king. And what was on top of his cross?
King of the Jews.
The King of the Jews.
Yep.
Now, does that mean you have to be Jewish? No, because you are the wild branch grafted into the root. The root is God. The natural branch is the flesh of Jacob. But you know who the real one who brought faith to the world is? Abraham.
Yep.
And you know who's following and walking in the steps of Abraham? Rahab. She's the one. And she did it when she was harem, when she was cursed to destruction, because she wanted to walk with God in the cool of the day and not be destroyed. She was not afraid. So, Christian, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of God. Don't be afraid to walk in his ways. Don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to adopt this and make it yours, because it is.
That's what I was going to say. It is. It is. Clearly.
Yes.
Clearly.
Thus, the second day, and at the seventh time, now listen to this. When the priest blew the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout!" Never were they to speak before it. Why? Because creation came with a word, right? It was at the moment God commanded. This was God speaking the destruction of this nation. The city shall be under the ban, harem, right? It's going to be destroyed. It and all that belongs in it are to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot and all who are with her in the house shall live, because she hid the messengers. But why? See, this is the thing, okay? We live in a world where somebody will say, well, she lied, right? You shall not lie. The Bible contradicts itself.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I think? I think they don't know how to read. Because God didn't say you can't do what's good, right? God said all of this, including lies, leads to destruction. But she didn't lie. She told the truth. Because God is the truth.
Yep.
He was the one who was bringing destruction. This city was to go. The truth was coming. And she sided with the truth. Now, in the information world, in the battle of ideas, this is contested. Am I wrong? You could debate this.
Yeah, you could debate it, but I think you would probably lose the debate.
Well, here's what I think. I don't care, because Jesus is my rabbi, and that's my truth. So you can say whatever you want to about anything. If Jesus said it's good, because he rose from the dead.
And this theme gets tested later on in this book also when we get further down the road.
That's right.
There's some other issues that arise, not involving Rahab, but...
So as for you, now, they've done pretty good up until this point. Not that they always do good, right? But they've done pretty good up until this point. They were not to take part in the ban, right? So they go, and he says, with that shout, with what...
go straight into the city.
Go straight in. Who makes your path straight? Who
Lord.
makes the way easy?
Right. And this
Who opens the doors to conquer the wicked one?
Who collapses the walls of Jericho?
Who collapses the walls? What did Jesus say? The gates of hell are sieged. It's this moment.
Yep.
It is this moment. Jesus is talking about Joshua. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Jesus is talking about Joshua.
And you know, there are also some really interesting, to me, some interesting symbology here, if that's the right word. Moses carried a staff, okay, and Moses shepherded his people through the wilderness for 40 years, right?
Yes.
Joshua carries a spear or a sword, probably a spear, and that's a motif for what Jesus is going to be when he comes back.
Yeah, it says
It's really interesting.
When you hold up your javelin, right?
Yep.
So, and that's a little bit later. Now, Rahab and all her people were brought in. Now, where is Rahab in the lineage of Jesus?
Well, she is Boaz's grandmother, she's connected, but she marries Salmon, and they have Boaz, right?
They have Boaz. That's right.
Yeah.
So this woman, this goy, this cursed one, she ends up being a woman of great faith in the kingdom. She was in the line of Jesus. She was in the purified line of Jesus. And why? Because God is doing a thing on the whole earth. This is here to tell you that it's not just about one ethnic source. And it's here that when Israel finally opens her eyes, and when she hears with her ears and she speaks with her mouth, she's going to know that there was always going to be a line of Abraham. It never narrowed to just flesh, just a place. It never narrowed. They were supposed to be a people who went out into the entire world and made disciples. Mm-hmm. When Jesus came, what did he do? He made 12 additional disciples. And in Revelation, how many thrones are there?
There are 24.
There are 24.
Right.
Why? Because there are 12 tribes and 12 disciples. He made a whole new world. And he brought back the restoration of the Abrahamic way, the way.
And the interesting thing about this city was the speculation is that Jericho was actually an Amorite city, if I'm not mistaken, and Rahab probably is in the same family tree as Abraham. I mean, like genetically.
Yeah. So this Eric, okay. Let's keep going because
Okay.
we're gonna meet
Gotcha.
Lord Zedek in
All
a
right.
second here. So, okay, after this, right? Well, okay, first of all, Jericho was going to be destroyed, and it was never to be rebuilt. But Jericho was rebuilt.
Yeah, about
Jesus
500
walked
years later,
through
right?
Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 500 years ago, it came back, and guess the man who rebuilt it? His firstborn died. The exact curse that was said happened. Now, is God mean for that?
No, actually, I've got a pretty clear picture of how this is a motif for modern time.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Well, explain it.
Well, I mean, so first of all, what God's doing at Jericho, this is God taking the city.
That's right.
God is on the battlefield. God's commander is on the battlefield, and these young Hebrew or Israel, I'm going to call them Israelites, they're really almost battle untested. They literally are. They've fought two kings.
Yeah, they've never.
They were the generation that was raised in the wilderness. They had to get circumcised and
Now,
so forth.
being fair, they were probably pretty hard growing
well,
up in the wilderness.
yeah. I know they were. But what I'm saying is, like most young soldiers, they don't really get tested. This is God doing this, and I get the sense that there's a spiritual battle that's already happened over in the heavenlies above Jericho. I can't prove it, but I get the sense from reading this.
So what you're hitting on is what's important, okay? So flesh and blood are not separate from spirit, right? And that's the point of this. There was a spiritual enemy in this place. The enemy was in this place. That's why God encircled it and it fell down from the inside. Because he showed us, just like Jesus showed us, that he has the keys to death and to hell. And when he speaks, it's easy. Who makes your path straight, right?
Right.
So listen, the Bible is rough, okay? And it's very nuanced. But we shouldn't take offense because it's people who are broken, right?
Yep.
Because what did Jericho result in? Lots of hardship for the nation. The fall of the nation. Again, the loss of the temple. The brokenness of idolatry. All of it is found in these cities. God is trying to protect his people. He doesn't want the return of these things. And we find out why in just a second here. So the sons of Israel acted unfaithfully, and this is in regards to a city called Ai. Now, in Canaan, it's called the Levant. In this land area, there are city-states that have their own kings. And it's one of the reasons why it never became like a power broker. It's the only reason why Israel was able to conquer so much.
Yep.
Because if it had been like Assyria, that became one nation with a huge army who got very good at destruction, then they would have never done it. But because these city-states existed one by one with their own kings, their own lords.
And their own struggles. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That's right. Yeah, they weren't united with the people around them. So this is why they were able to conquer. So here we go. Who is it that did something under the ban? From what tribe?
Tribe of Judah.
Judah. It's Judah again.
Yeah, so essentially what happens here is, the Lord, basically God tells Joshua, the city is mine. It's like first fruits, right? You're going into the Holy Land. You're going into the Promised Land. Moses got you here. He's trying to build Joshua up because Joshua is a new guy. I mean, he's not a new guy. He's an old man who's been traveling, but Moses has been the cheese, right? And Joshua is the new guy. So one of the things that God is doing here is he's showing everybody in all of the Israelites, here's my man.
Yeah, this is Joshua.
This is
Joshua's
Joshua,
the
and
guy.
so part of what God's doing is he's proving that Joshua has God's authority. That's
And what's Jesus' real name in English? Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua is the one who brought him into the land. He's the one who blew the trumpets and with a shout crushed the city.
Yep.
He's the one who delivered.
Right. So the concept here is God, this is the first place in the Holy Land that gets conquered. And this is a kind of a motif for first fruits, which I'm still getting my fingers around.
We're going to celebrate those
holidays. Yeah, which we're getting ready to.
Yep.
But anyway, so the moral of the story is harem or ban means basically this is all mine. This city will be consecrated to God. That means the only thing that he authorizes the army to take are the gold, the metal, and things like that. Everything else is to be, except for Rahab and her people and her possessions, is to be wiped out. So if you can imagine these young men who grew up in the desert, who heard these stories about Egypt and how great the Pharaoh was, and they're hanging in there, and the manna is now just stopped, and they've crossed the river, and they're like, well, do we really think this is happening? God's saying, yeah, it's happening. Joshua's your guy.
Yep. Now watch what happens.
Watch what happens. And he's also saying, do not take anything that belongs to me. And that still rings true in 2026, right? This is an indication of where it begins in the story. And so Achan.
Well, you know where this really plays out? When Jesus returns, all of Israel, the natural people who are going to be in a bad place soon, very bad place, they're going to see Jesus, and they're going to know that Joshua is there to lead them.
Yep.
With a shout and a trumpet. This is what's going to pop in the minds of every Jewish person when they are on the threshold of absolute destruction. This is it. This is the spot. This is what Jesus promised them. It is all about him. It's unbelievable. So these people, though, they returned. So they went out and they spied on Ai, right? They returned to Joshua and said to him, do not let all the people go up. Only about 2,000 or 3,000. Do not make all the people go. So about 3,000 people went, but they fled from the men of Ai. Why? Because it wasn't from God. So.
Yeah, well, so essentially what I think God was punishing them for the sin that Achan, we'll talk about how this comes. There's basically, they've screwed up. One person out of perhaps 3 million has done what God said not to do. And this is also a motif of, the very first.
A little leaven leavens the whole lump.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Joshua doesn't know this yet. So he sends his troops, and they're like, Joshua's got the power. He's got the mojo. God is with us. And he sends a token force to take Ai, which incidentally stands for ruin. That's the translation of that town.
And they did not talk to God.
No,
they did not seek God's wisdom in this.
And so they basically get routed by a much smaller force that is rather surprised to see this massive Israeli army with the God of Israel, in their mind, fleeing in front of them. And so the word actually.
It didn't even say they brought the
they didn't. No, they didn't. They sent some boys out there,
just
and they failed. So what happens here also is the word starts spreading throughout Canaan that, hey, maybe the Israelites aren't all that tough. Maybe we can beat them. Because remember, Rahab was aware that they're coming, and it's going to be on like Donkey Kong, and they're going to win. And
in the end, this probably worked out to their benefit. Yep. But there's a number here that matters, and we're not going to talk about this, but there's a thing called gematria, numbers, right? The study of numbers. In this, 36 men were killed. What's 6 times 6, right? The number of man kind of thing. So there's a lot of this in here. We're not going to go into it right now. Later we will, but these numbers really matter. These 6 was the base number of Sumeria. It is the number of man. It's an interesting subpoint here. So Joshua tore his clothes, and then he sounds just like Moses. Alas, O Lord God, why did you ever bring this people over the Jordan only to deliver us to the hand of the Amorites to destroy us? Okay. O Lord, what can I say since Israel has turned their back before their enemies? For the Canaanites and the inhabitants of the land will hear of it, and they will surround us and cut us off. Now, how quickly we change. Fear entered.
Fear entered because he failed, and he doesn't know why. And it looks like, hey, were you kidding when you dried up the
It's
the Jordan?
Deuteronomy,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
Deuteronomy, the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is the covenant framework. This is the covenant framework. If you do good, it will be given to you. If you don't, everything will be taken from you. And like the very second battle,
Yeah.
it goes bad, right? But this has been the motif, which is the reason why I say the law is the wisdom of God. This isn't something odd for us because we do the same things. How many of our churches are utterly failed? How many of our churches have done despicable and evil things throughout history? It's not hidden. And you know what? God already knew it. Jesus already knew it. When he did this, it wasn't for the people, it was for his glory. He was bringing Jesus. That's why Rahab came.
Yep.
She was going to be in the line. This Gentile. All of this points to something so much bigger and so much greater. The battles, the brokenness, the people, that is not the focus. People have to learn the lesson. We have to take righteousness upon ourselves because we ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And where does it end? Evil. But where does true righteousness come from? Trusting in the one who is forever, that rose from the dead, and who is coming with a shout and a blast of the trumpet.
And keeping his commandments.
And keeping his commandments. Now, understand, it's where God in the Spirit leads you. There is no reason for me to stand on anybody to keep anything other than what God is teaching you. Because the Bible tells me, Acts 15 tells me, that God can do a thing among people before they look like they're righteous. And that's okay. We don't have to be perfect. We have to trust him. We don't have to do things. We have to love him and be led by him. And that's good enough for me. If I see the fruit of the Spirit, I'm a happy camper. I don't believe that anybody has to do anything. I just know that Jesus said, if you keep the law, you're great in the kingdom. And I want to give him a really great crown. So I'm really, really trying. Am I good at it?
You're good
I'm
at
just trying, you know?
You're getting better at it.
So, okay. So Israel had sinned. They also transgressed my covenant and my command. Now, this is awesome. They will never stand before their enemies. Now rise up and consecrate the people and bring all of the people before God. So who is going to make the judgment?
God.
Not Joshua.
God's making the judgment.
That's right. He's going to point out what's going on. So it shall be the one with the things under the band shall be burned by fire. Because first it's the flood, then it's the fire. Right?
And it's also the motif of sacrifice, too. Everything that belongs to God is...
Sin must die.
Right, and I mean, if you think about the sacrifice, what happens? It's all fire.
It's all fire.
That's how you get there.
It changes.
Yep.
It changes into the Spirit. So Joshua rose early in the morning, and he brought all the tribes near him, and the tribe of Judah was taken. Dude, this is so important. It is so important. Judah is the king tribe, right? But what keeps happening with Judah? They keep making really bad mistakes. Judah was the one who defrauded Tamar because of his sons, and then impregnated her and said, stone her to death, or burn her. It was burn her. It was the same thing.
Yep.
Then he repented, and he came back to the people. He came back to Israel. He was in Canaan, came back to the people. Now they're back to loving Canaan again. Okay? So what this says is, until Judah is made correct, until he's cleaned, he can't be the king. And how do you make something clean? By the blood, right? It's all pointing toward this watershed moment of the cross, because you have Joseph.
Yep.
Joseph redeemed the people by becoming the sacrificed one, the hated one, the ousted one, the sold one, the destroyed one. But then he just reappeared, and he saved the people from death. And then the king could take his place. Because Jesus is two. He's the sacrificial lamb and the lion. And all of it's here. Now, Achan took them to this treasure. And this is so important. The name of this treasure matters tremendously. When I saw among the spoils, what's first? A beautiful mantle from Shinar. What's Shinar?
Babylon.
Yeah. It's from where Abraham is from. He wanted to take his kingly place. He wanted the best of the best. Do you know what a mantle is?
I think so.
What
I
is
think
it?
it's almost like a boat cloak, right?
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
festival
Yeah.
religious robe. Like gold inlaid, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's the ancient world. Who else fell to the ancient world? So many fell to the ancient world. Everybody who swept through, think Alexander the Great.
Yep.
Think all of the generals
Yeah,
after
I
him.
wasn't following you there, but yeah,
Yeah.
you were talking about that. Yeah, that even went up to the French,
Yeah.
like in the 50s.
They all
Yeah.
fell to this. Why?
Yeah.
Because there's magic there.
Yep.
When Israel circled this city, what do you think the people believed? Was it just them circling the city? No, they knew it was a God thing. They knew it was like a spell. It's like magic. These are religious people. These are people who believe that God, the Spirit, and the flesh are one thing. This is the worldview here. It's not separate like we imagine. This ancient garb is precious, so precious. But who does it belong to? Not to Achan.
No, it belongs to God.
Yeah, not to
It's
Achan.
under Harem.
It belongs to
So,
God. He
yeah.
was supposed to bring it to the tabernacle, to Joshua. But instead he kept it. I remember in Acts, a certain two people that sold everything but kept something back.
Yeah, yep.
And they died. Does that story ring a bell?
Yeah, it does.
You know why? Because this and that are the same thing. It's the same thing. It's meant to bring you back here. It's meant to recall the stories. This is why I say, memorize these things. I've said this before, and I really, really, really mean it. If you know this, you can see it in everybody who has the Spirit. You can see it in everybody who has the Spirit. You know what you don't see in people who don't have the Spirit? This. They're incapable of not falling for the garb from Shinar, right? They're incapable of not loving riches.
Who's going to know?
That's right. And that's what he did. He took it and he buried it in the ground. Now, where are men from? It's a creation motif again. The dirt people, right, went back to the garden, and for fear, he put it in the ground. Where he's from. He tried to hide it. Remember Jesus told us about the talents? What happened to the one who was cursed? He hid it in the ground. Because they try to go back to what they think God wants. But you know what God wants? He wants you. He wants your work. He wants your heart. He wants your soul. He wants your mind, your mouth, your ears, your hands, and your feet. He doesn't want you to hide anything.
And you can't hide anything anyway. That's the real irony there.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So Joshua sent the messengers, and they ran to the tent, and it was concealed with the silver underneath it. And they took them inside the tent and brought them to Joshua and all the sons of Israel, and they poured out before the Lord. Then Joshua and all Israel took him and his family and his daughters and his oxen, and his donkeys, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that belonged to him, to the valley of Achor. And he said, "Why have you troubled us?" And they stoned him. And they put a stack of stones there. What didn't they take?
What do you mean, what didn't they
What
take?
didn't they take?
Of him? Of Achan?
To destroy? The mantle?
Well, yeah.
They didn't take the mantle.
I didn't notice that.
They did not take the
Okay,
mantle.
you're teaching me something here. I didn't notice that.
So, but what they did take was this, and it just tells you how precious this thing was. It really was a precious treasure. It's an ancient thing of antiquity. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not yours. It's his. All to the service of God. Because if it's not, what results? Jesus told us this. When he tells us that if you don't give up your life here, you die, this is what it is. You can go chase after things, but it leads to death. The minute, to the discerning Christian, you know what the wisdom of God is? If you did something and you feel fear, that was evil. Period. Right? That's the Spirit speaking. If you did something and you can be proud of it, that's good. The Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. What is taking what doesn't belong to you? It's stealing, right? And he did feel bad about it, but then he died. Because this is a very serious moment in history. He did not have the right to do that. But this is not because God is brutal. It's because us, Israel, all of history, we have to go into this and know what it says. Then we can walk the way. Then we can teach our neighbors. Then we can talk about him along the way. Then we can be a people that don't hide our stuff underground. We bring it out and we go, look at the treasures. Not treasures, but treasures of God. Mm-hmm. Life, liberty, love, patience, right? We were talking about this earlier, right, Mary? If we could all be more like giving and caring and kind. If somebody takes advantage of you and you go, that's life. And then you pray for them, right? You don't curse them. That's what Jesus was like. It's not that hard. We're going to get eventually to all the apostles. This moment is not God. This moment is God teaching people what happens when we keep going back to that tree. This is leading us to Jesus, who is the tree of life. Does that make any sense? Does it
makes perfect
land?
sense. Yeah, it lands with me. It's also, this strikes me as the first sin committed in the promised land.
In the land, yeah.
The very first one that
and
I've
it was
been able to
drawn
find out.
back to the ancient ways, which is exactly what he said not to do from the very beginning. Now, think back to Cain and Abel. What did he say to Cain? Sin is crouching at the doors, desires to have you, but you must master it. Was it saying, Cain, you can master it? Or was he prophesying? I'm convinced that this Bible is written that way because there is this way of speaking. So if we go back to chapter 7, okay? Joshua was behind, or to the west of Ai, hidden. He was down in a valley, and he was with 5,000 men. And the rest of the people went before the city gates, and then they fled.
Yeah, this is the second battle. We didn't get to that. We got rabbit
Oh, is that coming up?
Yeah, no, we're there. You're on track.
Oh,
but
okay,
I mean,
so
we gotta
never mind. I
introduce
got
it.
exactly where I want to be.
Yeah.
So this is really important because what it says is that Joshua fled. But Joshua wasn't there. Joshua was in the valley waiting to attack the city because the leader is the one who's responsible. This is the ancient worldview. We can't read these books with a newspaper mind, right? Because Joshua is responsible for the people. These are his people. His people are attacking. He set it in motion with God's help. He's waiting in ambush. When the people fled, Joshua fled. And it literally is right next to each other. Here we go. So Joshua sent them away, and they went to the place of ambush and remained there between Bethel, the house of God. That should ring a bell. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? In Ai. On the west side of Ai, but Joshua spent the night among the people. Now Joshua rose early in the morning and mustered the people, and he went up with the elders of Israel before the people of Ai, Then all the people of war who were with him went up and drew near and arrived in front of the city and camped on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between him and Ai, and he took about 5,000 men. So he was there in front. Now he goes over to the valley. All the army that was on the north side of the city and its rear guard on the west side of the city, and Joshua spent the night there. When the king of Ai saw it, he came out because they were ready. They thought that they could destroy Israel because they weren't good fighters. Their God was on their side. They were also doing rituals in their city.
And they thought they had proof that their God was on their side.
Oh, yeah. Their God was on their side.
Because they had already routed the first force.
Baal el-Asherah. They had the Ugaritic religion. So all the people who were in the city began to come together and pursue them. Not a man was left in Ai. They were way too confident. Now, Joshua stretched out who said it? The Lord. Joshua stretched out the javelin toward Ai, and I will give it to you. What if he didn't stretch out the javelin?
Man, I don't know. I think
he had to stretch out the javelin, right? This is the weirdness of loving and following God. If he speaks, just do it. Is it weird? Probably. It's probably weird. He does some strange things. You'll be in a supermarket, and he'll be like, talk to him. You know?
Yeah.
You're like,
hit that rock with your staff. Just do it.
Okay. You know? And if you do, you find out why, right? Because God is good, and he knows what's going on. When the men of Ai turned back, here we go. When he had stretched out his hand, they ran and entered the city and captured it, and they quickly went in. I was actually looking for one particular word here. All the people who were in the city, this is the part I wanted to get to, were called together to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua. But they didn't pursue Joshua.
Right.
They pursued Joshua's people. So this is how it's a mind flip for us, right? It's a weird thing because we think they followed Joshua. They were going to kill Joshua. But Joshua wasn't among those people. Joshua was on the west side getting ready to ambush. But the Bible writes it that way. Because Joshua is the sovereign, right? Let's tie this back to the garden, the fall, all of this harem and all of this destruction, right? God is in control. It's God doing it, but it's not God's character. We know what his character is. It's really good. He doesn't want death. And you know how I know? Because Jesus is that character. And he said, give yourself up as I have given myself up. And he went to the cross, not fighting with swords. So why did we need this? Why is this attributed to God? Because this is God's way of showing us that if you go to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, your temple will be destroyed. That's the end. But if you come to Jesus, it never dies. That's the motif, right?
Yep.
Okay, so they did it. Wrecked this place, conquered it. And they put the king on a tree.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
That's another motif that'll be repeated during this 6-year battle.
And why?
Well, I don't really want to tie it into, you tell me why.
Because the tree is to be cursed of God. To be nailed to a tree is to be cursed of God. Who was nailed to a tree?
Yep, I see where you're going with that.
The innocent one.
Right.
Right? In this case, it was the one who was actually cursed. That's why the Bible is new. It's nuanced.
Right.
You have to see it. You have to think about it. Because in this case, the harem, the king of Ai, he was rightly killed and rightly nailed to the tree and rightly destroyed.
Right.
Because sin had to die, but not Jesus. Jesus was treated as an evildoer. He was the sacrificial lamb. These stories inform that. And this is like one of many places in this. So Joshua did not withdraw his hand or stretched out the javelin until they utterly destroyed. So they wiped it all out. They hanged the king of Ai on a tree until evening. Why evening?
Well, you tell me. I mean, to me, he was impaled in the walls of his city. You know, I think it's a euphemism, but I don't know it well enough.
Well,
but anyway, I don't want to
crucifixion is not new.
Yeah.
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 So maybe. Okay, maybe.
But
right?
anyway, but get back to the
So
evening.
here's the thing, though. During the daytime, if you want to be clean, you can bury your dead, you can do whatever, but then you have to wash, and by evening, you have to be washed and cleaned, and then in the next day, you're clean again.
Gotcha.
Right? So this is ritual law. That's why. It's just part of the kingdom. We are looking at not a group of people. We are looking at the becoming of a kingdom. These are divine and kingly documents. These documents weren't just given out to people. We're so blessed to have them. This is like declassified CIA stuff that we get the chance to look at. And it was given to us so that we could see God working in the garden and in the Jesus. And then everything in between, we can go, oh, that's right. The sword
It's
yields death.
The repeated patterns.
The
of
repeated patterns.
Revelation, yep.
It's so good. So Joshua built an altar to the Lord at Ebal, and he commanded the sons of Moses, and he rewrote the law again. That's why the ritual purity is there. So you have that it has to be taken off by the nighttime, and then he rewrites the law. So these are the kind of clues that you want to pick up through the scriptures. So he wrote a stone copy, just like Moses received. And what is he doing? He's creating himself as the new Moses, the rightful leader, right?
Yep.
And, you would say that this is because God told him to do it. Now, here, this is awesome. The Gibeonites. So these people,
I like these guys.
yeah, they're descendants of Ham, okay? You have Seth, Japhet, and Ham. Ham is this area. Japhet is Egypt, if I remember right. Or no, I'm sorry, Ham is there.
Yeah.
Japhet is like northern area. And then Seth, and this we're talking about post-flood, right? The
Noah's
sons of Noah.
Yeah.
So these are descendants of Ham. And what did Ham had a bad run, right?
Yeah.
So now his people, they're cursed. But these ones, the Gibeonites, were they afraid of God?
Yes. I think they were. Here's why. They knew they were going to be totally destroyed if they didn't figure out a way. Their options were to fight or flee.
Yep.
And they chose a third way.
They chose the third way.
So I think, yes, they were afraid.
They were afraid, but they weren't afraid to try to save their lives.
That's true.
Right? And what did Jesus say about those who were faithful that came to him? Remember the Canaanite woman?
Yeah.
Is it good to give meat from the dog's table? She said, even the dogs eat the table scraps. And he said, oh, what great faith. Right? To me, he's talking about right here. Right?
Yep,
because what
I
did
see
they
it.
get? They got the scraps from the master's table. They came and they deceived, right? They put on a bunch of old stuff. They showed up and they were like, man, it's been a long journey, guys. Who else came from a faraway land? Okay? Right? This motif is coming. The Magi came from a faraway land to see the king. These pretended to come from a faraway land to see the king. All of this stuff points to a thing, right? So they came, they pretended, and they made an agreement because they weren't afraid to die because they knew God is just. You know what they say? This is awesome. They also acted craftily and set out envoys, and they took sacks and whatnot on their donkeys. They went to Joshua at Gilgal and said to him and the men, we have come from a far country. The men of Israel said to the Hivites, these are descendants of Ham, perhaps you are living within our land. They knew, right? If they had just asked God, he probably would have told them, but they didn't. They made a decision. But they said to Joshua, we are your servants. Jesus echoes the Canaanite woman. Can I just have some scraps? Right?
Yeah.
It's so good. Then Joshua said to them, who are you and where do you come from? They said to him, your servants come from a very faraway place. The same thing that the Magi said.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Except the Magi were telling the truth.
Except for they told the truth. That's right. And they protected him from a bad king and all kinds of stuff. So saying, take provisions from your land and country and go to meet them. So they're saying, what happened is we heard about you and we wanted to come, right? They were led here. That's what they said. Our bread was warm. Now it's destroyed. It's dry. This is our clothes. It was better, but now it's falling apart. They do the whole thing. So the men of Israel took some of their provisions. It did not ask for the counsel of the Lord. Okay. Christian, what can we learn? Just make decisions with God, right?
Yeah.
No, nothing's too big, nothing's too small. Ask him, talk to him, meet him in the cool of the day.
And this actually sets up a real dilemma for the Israelis, for the Israelites.
Later it's a big deal.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal right here, too, because if you think about it, they've been commanded by God to wipe these people out. And now they've made a treaty with them.
Yeah, and they can't.
Ooh, and now which one's more important?
Because the old world, the word means everything. So when you make an agreement, you keep that agreement.
Because your God's involved in it.
That's right.
In this case, God is involved in it.
Now listen to this. At the end of 3 days, they find out that they were lied to. The sons of Israel set out and came to the cities on the third day. Their cities were Gibeon and Chephirah and Beerot and Kiriath Jearim. These are all cities, like if you listen to Avram's story, they're all in it. This is all part of it. These are old world people. These are people who probably came from the same places as Avram. The sons of Israel did not strike them because the leaders of the congregation had sworn to them. But the leaders said to the whole congregation, we have sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. This we will do to them. Even let them live, so that wrath will not come upon us. The leader said to them, let them live. So they became hewers of wood and drawers of water. Now, awesome. Deuteronomy 29. The people who came out of Egypt with Israel, there's already a mechanism. They were made hewers of wood and drawers of water. There was already a mechanism to have Gentiles in the midst. But what did they have to do? They had to take the oath to the king. They became Israel.
They did, and later on, they actually had a special role in the Second Temple period.
They got to serve in the temple,
yeah, I mean,
man. They helped rebuild it.
Yeah, so that's like, 800 years after that?
Yeah. The Gibeonites were faithful because they wanted to serve
but they also
the
caused,
true God.
They also caused 10. Yeah.
Well, because this was never to succeed.
Right.
This was never to succeed. And that's the point I'm making tonight. Joshua was what brings us to Jesus, who is the righteousness that they're trying to achieve, because he was ready to accept the Canaanites who said, can I just have the scraps from the table? These people served at the temple, man. They brought water and they brought wood for the sacrifices, the cleansing rituals and the burning rituals. It's astonishing. So they answered Joshua, listen to what they say. Because it was certainly told to your servants that the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. Therefore we feared greatly for our lives because of you and have done this thing. But did they fear God? No. They feared Israel. They came to Israel to make right with God.
And they also had faith in that last sentence there in 25. We're now in your hands. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you.
Yeah, if you want to destroy me, go ahead.
Yeah.
They gave up their lives.
Yes.
Did you hear Jesus? It's so good.
It is. These are some of my favorite peeps.
So this is me. I want to be a Gibeonite. I am 100% fine working in the temple. 100% fine with that. I will chop the wood and bring the water. Bring it on.
I just want to raise sheep.
Okay, so five kings try to get together. Now this is awesome because the 5 kings, they come against Gibeon.
Yeah, that's because in their opinion, the Gibeonites
they were
betrayed
traitors.
them. Yeah,
that's right. Gibeon was a great city, a wealthy city, a wonderful people. Now listen to this. When did we meet a king with Avram? Melchizedek, my king of righteousness. Melchizedek. What do we hear? What do we see him here? Adoni Zedek, Lord righteous. Not mine. It's the same office. So what happened, dear Christian?
So does this also kind of ties in with Jethro and Moses way back, right?
Yeah, the Midianites eventually become enemies too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And why? Because the world changed. The world changes. Wherever, and this is what God told Israel. When you allow these people to exist, you will fall away. In Melchizedek, his office was in Jerusalem. He was the king of Salem, of peace. This is the same office. Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem. But now he's Harem. Now he's cursed.
Yeah.
Because the religion drifted.
Well, that's probably why the Hebrews were in Egypt for 480 years or whatever, right?
Because it really looked like, do a little bit of research on the Ugaritic, Ugaritic, if you are a glutton for punishment. It's all, it's all scholarly stuff, but it's so good because they had a very similar priesthood, very similar sacrifices. Why? Because it was all came from Abraham. Abraham was deeply influential. Abraham was a great man. A great man. And because of that, his worldview infiltrated and changed this area. But it wasn't one that his sons could stay for. Isn't that interesting? Because it drifted.
Yep.
So, I have a question, Christians. How far have we drifted? We are 2,000 years later. Do we look like Jesus? I'm just saying it's a little bit scary, isn't it?
Actually, probably.
Because if I follow the wisdom of law, what I see is that Jesus is in the line of Melchizedek, right? The high priest in the order of Melchizedek. Then we meet Adonai Zedek, same office, not in his line.
Right, and also not, this is a title. So who knows how evil this actual human being occupying this, wearing this crown actually is. I mean,
Teshuvah, repentance, right? We have to go back. We got to go back to Jesus. It's so simple. It is so simple. It's all about the King who rose from the dead. He's the only one who can tell us the truth. He's the only one that has spoken all through this. I promise you, I have read all of the rabbis. Can they make sense of this? No, they can't. But Jesus can. He can make sense of this for me. Because Israel, they are taking a place now, a place of power, a place of prominence, right? They are a very powerful nation today. They are. But how does it end? They will never keep this covenant. It's dead. It is gone. Because man's righteousness is impossible. We got to go back to the garden and walk with God. And how do we do it? By the one who rose from the dead. That's the only way to walk with God. Because he overcame the garden. So we have to return to Jesus. And how do we return to Jesus? We go back and learn it all in his name, in his ways, in his interpretations. That's what I believe. No, I know. I know. Because he's the only one who has overcome the garden. And he's the only one who ever can. Jesus is Lord. And he's coming. We have got to not drift like Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem. It doesn't say Salem, right?
Right. He's a Jebusite.
It doesn't call him Melchi. Melchi is my king. Melech ha'olam, king of forever. Melchi Yeshua, Jesus my king. Melchi is mine, right? Abraham called him Melchi. This one calls him Lord. He's just the Lord of a city. I really want this to really, really settle in the hearts of God's people and cause us to just voraciously read this. You don't even have to understand it. Just read it. So the next week when we come and we do, 13 to whatever it is, already have read it so that when we talk about it, you can talk with me. And you people listening, put questions. Ask questions. I will rejoice to talk to you. I want to know that you are on the journey, the way. I want to see a people rise up in Jesus' name. More than anything. There's nothing in this world that is even close to the greatness of serving the King of the Jews.
Our King.
Our King.
Grafted in. We're the wild olive branch.
Okay, so these 5 kings, we'll just wrap this up real quick, okay? These 5 kings that come against Gibeon, the only time in history a day stands still, it stands still for Yeshua to defend the Gentile Gibeonites. He comes to save them from I think it's the Hittites that had the 5 kings.
Yeah, it's all of them. It's the Canaanites, the Hittites,
Yeah.
the Perizzites.
So they put together 5 kings, 5 armies. They came against Gibeon.
Yep.
And
yeah, Gibeon.
they sent to Joshua, you hear me? The Gentiles called out to Yeshua, and he came and saved them from his enemies. And it's the only time in history that time stopped, because Jesus has the keys, right? You see the motif? He's coming. All of this points to him. They were put into caves. The caves were sealed shut,
right,
with a stone. There were soldiers left there to guard them. They were brought out and they were nailed to a tree, and then they were thrown back into the cave, and the stone was sealed shut. Guess who didn't get thrown back into the cave forever and the stone sealed shut, even though he was put on a tree? Because Jesus overcame all of this, just like he did for these Gentiles. He did it for us.
Amen.
He's calling a people. He's undoing the curse. This is the curse. We are not supposed to murder one another. It is good that God created man. And we can be good in Jesus' name. At least we can try.
Yep. Well,
At least we can try.
every day.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So this ends with 31 kings, and it just talks about how he overcame. Like, Joshua did a wonderful thing, but he got old. They didn't take all of the land.
Imagine that.
And
They also did exactly what Moses warned them not to do.
yeah, it's
They took wives and went to parties and amalgamated some bad practices, and that goes through the rest of the story.
and it starts early
Yep.
because the person who doesn't have the Spirit will never keep the law. This is the covenant of the law, right? And everybody was supposed to keep it, right? Isn't that what we're told? This is the covenant of law. The covenant of grace is what we're in. Well, they weren't in a covenant of law. Not most of them. Not a good portion of them. And later on, the temple was sacked, destroyed, wiped out once, twice, right? Turned away from Jesus because deaf, blind, and dumb. First will be last, last will be first. Why? Because this was always the plan. The plan was always to show us the tree of knowledge of good and evil and exactly what it ends up like. The Torah is wisdom. It is good. And it tells us the truth. It tells us the truth about you and me and you. The more we seek our own ways, the more we love this earth, we will not see him. That's what it teaches us. And how do you not seek your own ways? You surrender to Jesus. And then he teaches you from inside. And you join groups of people that love God, and you attempt also to love God. Because the church, the called out ones, we are a body. We are supposed to be together. We are supposed to forsake the things of the world. We're not supposed to love baseball games and fishing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't have fun.
Or the nightly news.
Or the nightly news. We're not supposed to become progressive or conservative. We're supposed to become Jesus for Jesus and all about Jesus. And for one another. We have to spend our time with one another, talking about his wisdom, walking his wisdom, living his wisdom. And then you change. And he causes a love for things you didn't know you could love. Because he's so good. And if you would just give up your life, you would find it. That's what he told us.
You can find a lot of it right here.
It's all here.
It's pretty amazing. The further you read, the more it makes sense. I mean, for real. It's mind-boggling, actually. You couldn't even touch the surface of this stuff.
No,
I mean, there's so much here. It's
at some point we'll do like
Yeah.
line by line,
Yeah.
but we'll be like 4
Mind-boggling.
years in one book, you know. We'll get there. So, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you and turn his face towards you and bring you peace. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Come visit, the website, modernmindnaturebook.org. We certainly appreciate it. We are deeply grateful for Manning First Assembly for allowing us to be here. We pray for Larry and this congregation that the Spirit comes and settles and teaches and leads this place to just become so much more and so much bigger and so much greater. In Jesus' name, that it touches and changes Manning and South Carolina and the world at large. If you're tuning in, thank you so much. I pray many blessings on you, and I, most importantly, hope that you find and walk with Jesus.